by bread alone. Yeah, this word got food in it. Stepping on the devil dome. You should see the bruise in it. Backing out the scripts. Told a demon to stand down. Go against the Most High. We gon' see how it pan out. The Father gave me hope. Fill me with the ghosts. Now they hate it when I glow. Joseph with the coat. Looking for their fruit, but they ain't got no cantaloupe. The Messiah or Belial, you can't be a fan of both. Can't serve two masters. Bread of heaven with the living water, yeah, serving up a truth platter. We ain't idolizing no folly, now we setting up a new standard. When Christ touched down, make the whole earth shake like Bruce Banner. Yeah, bringing them troops to ya. End times getting spookier. Warfare getting nuclear. Mankind getting goofier. They intoxicated with a wine, damn, she done roofied them. I'm checking every word. Spirit doctrine like a proofreader. I hate these Nicolatans. Hate these graven idols, man, I hate these flipping pagans. Trying to play my father and I hate these imitations. Screaming out Hosanna, we escape that simulation. Better flee to me, vote these or else that lake is where you layin'. Great is he inside of me, casting out this net like I was by the Sea of Galilee. Harvest gon' be plenty, but the laborers are few. Matthew 17 and 20, there ain't nothing we can't do. I can't be no lukewarm, fringes with the blue on. Devil wanna deal, but I told him this ain't Groupon. Praise to the Almighty, you know we gon' sing a new song. Hail the King of King, the ultra low, no Jimmy Neutron. If you keep his laws and his commands, then we can fellowship. I don't get with Pharisees and I don't rock with Hellenists. I ain't praising man, cause only Father get my reverence. I'm swimming in the word, it got me feeling like a yellowfin. Yeah, big stepper, Mr. Demon Chin Checker, trying to hear that well done, cause I feel that displeasure. Father pouring out the wrath, and he got a big measure. If it ain't about the kingdom, then I don't give a six letter. You got faith in the Messiah, you got power. I was clean up in that blood just like a shower. Isaiah 5, you were the vine that came out sour. But now we stand and giving glory in this hour. Yeah, we breaking them curses, fleeing the ways of the serpent. Follow his word and pray for discernment, cause they want us laying in hearses. We gotta rise up, raise and resurface. Choose life and stay in your purpose. The price was paid like a merchant, through Christ who came as a servant. See, the kingdom is really the bag, but yet somehow they chasing a Birkin. After this you ain't getting a chance. While you living you can't better search him. Gotta call on his name like his urchin. Never knowing that day is emerging, so repent at the weight of perversions. Judgment coming, that thing is for certain. Let's go.
Okay, Ezekiel 9. About the midnight sorry cry. Okay.
Wake him up.
Check. You rolling? Kind, all praises. All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, all glory, all honor to the Most High God, whose name is YAHAWAH. Of course, I do so in the name of his only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahawashi, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. We're the Hebrew Israelites. We come out here week in and week out to prophesy the downfall of this wicked kingdom, America, and to teach repentance to you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? Bring that out for me.
Come, it's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 9 and verse 4. And the Lord said unto him.
Let's start from the top.
Come, verse 1. He cried also in my ears with a loud voice, saying, Cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which flieth towards the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand.
Right. So again, the Most High God is telling the prophet Ezekiel to call these men. Right. These men are not actual men. These are angels. How you doing, sister? Y'all believe in God? You're Muslim? That means you believe in God. What's God's name? Allah. What does the word Allah mean? So God's name is God?
Basically.
So is your name girl?
No.
Is your name daughter?
No.
You have a name, right?
Yes.
So how is God's name God if your name ain't daughter or girl? You ever thought about that?
That's what we call him.
I got you.
That's what we just thought about. We don't call him Jesus or whatever.
We don't call God Jesus either, right? The God of our. So let me ask you a question. What's your ethnic background, sis?
What you say?
What's your race? Your ethnic background? African American, right? Where in Africa are your people from? You know?
What?
You don't gotta be on camera. You don't gotta be on camera, sis. Where in Africa are your people from?
What you say?
Where in Africa are your people from? You know?
No.
Right? So what we come out here to teach is that so-called African Americans, so-called black people, so-called Latinos, so-called Native Americans, that we're actually the children of Israel that you read about in the Bible. right? Now, the Quran actually talks about the children of Israel at length, right? And it talks about how God bestowed upon us, right, good favor, right? God gave us prophethood, right? Now, the thing is, sister, right, your ancestors, right, were the prophets, right? Muhammad is not our ancestor, right? Muhammad, actually, when you read the hadiths, you believe in some of the hadiths? So the hadiths, right, there's various hadiths, right, in classifications of hadiths. You have something called a sahih hadith, which means a strong hadith, means that the chain of narration is strong and is trusted. You have what's called da'if, which is weak. You have Hassan hadiths, right? So there's a sahih hadith, a strong hadith that says that Muhammad was a white man, right?
But I don't think so.
Well, the hadiths, the people who, so like the hadiths are from like his companions and from people that knew his companions. Right? Like for instance, in the Bible, right, in the book of Revelation, who John, which was one of Christ's disciples, right, it says that this is the revelation of Jesus Christ, the revealing of him, right? And it describes him as having hair like wool and skin as dark as bronze that burnt in the furnace, right? So we can trust John's word about Christ because John actually walked with Christ and knew him, right? So when we look at some of these hadiths, right, these are all, a lot of them from his companions, especially these Sahih hadiths, and they attest to the fact that he was a white man. Right now, not saying that he was an actual, like, that he looked like the white people that we see today, but either way, right, Muhammad's not our people, right? He brought Islam for the Arabs. Now, we're not Arab. Now, in Africa, West Africa, you had this thing called the Trans-Saharan slave trade, where the Arabs enslaved our ancestors before the white man enslaved our ancestors and brought Christianity. What we come out here to teach our people is that Islam and Christianity are similar in that they're not the proper way that we as the children of Israel, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, that we should follow. Right, let me show you something. Let me get Psalms chapter 83, right? I want to show you something real quick, right? Get me Deuteronomy 7 and 6, right? Check this out, sister. See, the God of the Bible, whose name is YAHAWAH, right? That's a name, right? His name means he is. He is existence, because God just is, right? So our forefathers, we worshiped YAHAWAH, right? But some of our ancestors did not worship our God, and they worshiped the gods of other nations, right? One of the gods that our people worshiped was this God named Allah, right? A God named God. That was the God of the Canaanites, right? Well, what we're showing our people is that, hey, we're still following the same bad footsteps of our forefathers by not following and serving our God, but rather serving the gods of other people, right? So let me show you this. Psalms 83. Yep.
Khan, this book of Psalm, chapter 83, verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God.
Oh God, read on.
Hold not thy peace.
Come on.
And not be still,
Don't be still, read on.
For lo, thine enemies.
Your enemies. So God has enemies, right? Our God has enemies, right? Read on.
Make a tumult.
They make a tumult, right? A tumult is like they're causing a ruckus, right? They're causing a big, for lack of better words, hoopla, right? Read on.
And they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
So these enemies of God, they hate God, right? And they have lifted up their heads, right? They turn their noses up at God's people, right? Read on.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
Against thy people. God's people are the Israelites. We are the Israelites, right? Read on.
And consulted against thy hidden one. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
It says thy hit.
I have a question. So y'all are Hebrew Israelites?
Yes, we are Israelites, right?
So my friend is.
So here's the thing, you're an Israelite too, right? The word Israelite means, the suffix "ite," right? It means descendant of, right? You had a man named Jacob, who's the grandson of Abraham and the son of Isaac. And his name was changed from Jacob to Israel. So all of his descendants would be Israelites. So you are an Israelite, right? Regardless of whether you follow Islam, you follow Christianity, whether you could be a damn Buddhist if you want, you're still an Israelite, right? And you're required to keep the laws of our God and to worship our God and our God only, right? And that's why we come out here to teach our people, right? But it says that they consult together, they're confederate against your hidden ones, because our identity has been stricken from us. It's been hidden, right? We have been taught that we are black, that we are Negro, that we are African American, right? That we were taught in the Christian church that we were Gentiles, right? Whole time, right? We're the actual Jews, we're the actual Israelites of the Bible, right? And because we don't know who we are, right? Hosea 4:6 says that my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. If you strip a people of their knowledge of self and where they come from, right, you can destroy them, all right? And we've been destroyed as a people, right? So it says that they consult together against thy hidden ones, right? Read on.
They have cut them off from being a nation.
To cut us off from being a nation. Do black people have unity? Now, what divides us? What's one of the primary things that divides us? Well, that's one thing, right? They had this thing called the Willie Lynch letters, where they put the dark skin versus the light skin, right? They put the tall versus the short, man versus woman, things of that nature. Another thing that separates us, that too, right? But a major thing is religion, right? I'll give you an example. Philadelphia. Philadelphia is about 50% Muslim, 50% Christian, right? And guess what? That divides our people, right? Because the scripture says, though hand join in hand, right? Can two walk together lest they be agreed? If me and you, right, we're walking down the street, right, and we're holding hands, and I decide to go this way, and you decide to go that way, our hands are going to separate, right? So religion has separated our people, right? The institutions of Islam, the institutions of Christianity have separated us.
I don't think it like separated our people. I think it's like more of a belief type of thing. Like certain people believe like certain stuff.
I got you. I'll give you an example, right? In the Bible, right? We have this story about Elijah, right? You have Elijah and he's going against the prophets of Baal, right? The prophets of Baal and the people that follow them, they believe in this God named Baal, right? Instead of following the God of their ancestors, who's Yahawah. But Elijah is a prophet of Yahawah, and he's teaching our people, hey, listen, you better keep God's commandments, right? And there was a show-off between the prophets of Baal and Elijah, right? And the prophets of Baal lost terribly, right? So again, us following different ways, different cultures, different forms of morality, things of that nature, does separate us, right? And again, religion is one of those things. And I'm going to show you why that is, right? Keep reading it.
Verse 4. That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
So you don't know that your name, all right, that your name is Yasharahla. Yasharahla is Israel in Hebrew, right? Our people don't know that because we've been cut off from our true heritage, our true culture, right? And let's see who did this, right? Read on.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
One consent, read on.
They are confederate against thee.
So in America, how old are you, sister? 16, right? So in school, did you learn about the Civil War, where you had the North, the Union Army, and you had the Confederate Southern states? They got confederate together and they separated from the Union, right? So all of these nations, right? They can't agree on anything. Well, let's destroy blacks and Latinos.
That's right.
Right? That's one thing that they can come together on, is destroying our communities. This is why the Chinaman, right? He can come over here and get a loan, right? And set up shop in your neighborhood, right? And get rich off of selling your people poison, right? And then send his kids to college, right? The Arab man who brought us Islam, right? They'll literally sell products that are considered haram to our people, but they won't sell them to themselves because they are confederate together against us, and they're hell-bent on destroying us, right? Read on.
The tabernacles of Edom.
The tabernacles of Edom, right? Edom, right, is the so-called white man, right? The nation that descends from the man Esau, right? Esau was Jacob, our forefather's twin brother, right? Esau begets Edom, Jacob begets Israel, right? So Edom, so-called white people, when we look around, it's clear that white people are against us, right? Who's next on that list?
And the Ishmaelites.
And the who?
And the Ishmaelites.
So the Ishmaelites are the people who brought us Islam, right? They spoke Arabic. Arabic derives from Hebrew, right? You have Abraham. He has a wife named Sarah. His wife is barren, right? Sarah says, hey, take my handmaid, take my slave, and have a baby with her. And that baby was Ishmael, right? And then God said, no, you're going to have a son from your wife, Sarah, and you're going to call his name Isaac. And what happened was, in the story, Ishmael was making fun of Isaac And Abraham kicked, you pay attention, sister? And Abraham kicked out Ishmael and his mama out of the house. Gave him a loaf of bread and a bottle of water, right? That's what we read about in the Bible. So the Ishmaelites are the people who gave us Islam. But it says that these people, the Edomites and the Ishmaelites, are the primary enemies of God. And they come together to separate and cut off the children of Israel, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, from being a nation. So I know that you were raised in Islam, right? I was raised in Christianity. The thing that we have in common is that we were both raised in religions that are not our true religion, right? You ever heard of the brand true religion? Well, our true religion is the Torah. Because the word religion means, what are you bound to, right? We, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the Israelites, we're bound to the covenant that we made with our God, whose name is Yahawah, right? And he said, listen, if you keep my commandments, I'm going to bless you. If you break my commandments, I'm going to curse you, right? You got Deuteronomy 7:6? Bring that out, right? Let me show you this. Give me Deuteronomy 28:1.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God.
You know what the word holy means, sister?
I don't really like.
I got you. So the word holy means separate and set apart, right? Read on.
For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people.
To be a special people. Now let me ask you a question, right? Do you have a special pair of shoes or like a special anything in your life?
Yeah.
Right? And you treat whatever that thing that is special really well, right? The things that are special in your life, you treat them very well, right? So God said that we're special. And God said that I'll treat you really well and I'll bless you above all nations, right? But it's contingent upon our obedience. Read on.
The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself.
Read on.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
Now, notice how it didn't say equal to, right? It doesn't say beneath, right? But here's the thing. Are black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, are we treated as equals to other people in this country? No, right? We never have been, right? We've been treated as second-class citizens, right? The mere fact that Donald Trump has a slogan, "Make America Great Again." When was America ever great for black and Latino people and indigenous people? It never was, right? But it says that you are special people above all nations. We are below all nations because we're not keeping God's commandments. Bring that out.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, from the top. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently.
If you shall hearken, if you shall listen, hear, right? Read on.
Unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
If you listen to the Lord our God, right? When we read the Bible and see the word Lord in all caps, it's God's name, Yahawah, is there. Bun, come here real quick. Right? Sort of sit to the side of your hat. That's God's name in ancient Hebrew, Yahawah, right? So it says, it will come to pass that if you will listen diligently unto the voice of Yahawah, your God, read on.
To observe and to do all his commandments.
If you observe and do all of his commandments. I'll give you an example. Last night was new moon, right? And it is the 7th month. It's the 7th Hebrew month, right? And God commanded us that in the first day of the 7th month that we'll have a memorial of blowing of trumpets, right? It's a high holy day, right? Well, we kept that together as a congregation because God commanded us to do that. It said that it will come to pass if you will do all these commandments, right? Read on.
Which I commanded thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high.
Will set thee on high, read on.
Above all nations of the earth.
So again, the fact that we're not above all nations is indicative of the fact that we have not been keeping the commandments of God, right? Jump down to verse 15.
Verse 15. But it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken.
Now it's going to happen if you don't listen to God, read on.
Unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments.
Come on.
And his statutes.
Read on.
Which I command thee this day.
Read on.
That all these curses.
That all these curses. Now let me ask you, is a curse a good or a bad thing? It's a bad thing, right? Have you ever heard of generational curses? Yeah. You ever heard people talk about, oh, let's break generational curses? Yeah. Well, let me give you the inside scoop. The way that we, so-called black, Hispanics, Native Americans,
they want to break their curse.
Yes, the way that we, again, the fact that the scripture said that we have embraced dunghills, right? Shitholes, right? We live in shithole communities, right? We live in communities where we kill each other, right? Where we sell poison to each other, right? That's indicative of a destroyed people, right? But it says that it will happen if you break God's commandments, that you're going to experience these curses, right? These bad things. Everything that we go through in our community, it's bad, right? It's curses, right? So the way that we break those generational curses is by coming back to God and keeping his commandments. Let me get Deuteronomy 30, right? What you got?
This is the book of Judah, chapter 5, and verse 17. And whilst they sin not before their God.
So here we have someone of another nation, right? And he's giving someone else a rundown of our history, right? He says, while they what?
While they sin not.
Now, while they sin not, right? Sin is the transgression of the law of God, right? God gave us a law, right? A code to live by, right? The law is a line in the sand, right? The word transgress, right, means to cross the line. So when we cross the line and break one of God's commandments, we have transgressed or we have sinned. It said, while we sin not, while we didn't break God's commandments, right, read on.
They prosper.
They what?
They prosper.
Do you want to prosper, sister? I said, they said that they prosper. I said, do you want to prosper? Prosper. And prosper in life, right? So the way that we prosper in life is by keeping God's commandments, right? It said, while we didn't sin, we prospered. Read on.
Because the God that hateth iniquity.
God hates iniquity, right? Iniquity is just is a worse form of sin, right? Sin, think of sin like a cut, right? Think of iniquity as a cut that's infected, right? When we look at our people have been cut and we are infected, right? The scripture said that we have putrefying sores, right? Imagine a bunch of big old cuts and boils that have pus in it, right? That's our people as a whole, right? It says, while they sin not, right, the God that hateth iniquity, right? Read on.
Was with them.
God was with us, right? Read on.
But when they departed from the way which he appointed them.
When we depart from following the laws of God, right, what happened?
They were destroyed.
We were what?
They were destroyed.
We were destroyed, and we are destroyed. Read on.
In many battles, very sore, and were led captives into land that were not theirs.
And we were led away captive into lands that are not ours, right? This was not our land, right? But we were led away captive here, right? That's one of the curses. God said that you will go, you got that? Deuteronomy 28:68, right? Exodus 20:2 says, I am the Lord thy God that brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Why? Because our ancestors served bondage as slaves in Egypt, right? So read that.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 68.
One of the curses, right, sis? Listen.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
It says God's going to bring us into Egypt again, or bondage again, on what?
With ships.
With what?
With ships.
How did black people get to America? With ships, right? Now, this was written over 3,000 years ago, right? This is biblical prophecy of what would happen to our people. Now, the Quran can't tell you that, because there's no prophecy in the Quran. Right? Muhammad's called a prophet, but he has no prophecy. I can go into the Bible and show you a bunch of prophecy of things that have come to pass and things that we're seeing lining up to come to pass. Right? And this is one of them. It says that you're going to go into Egypt or bondage again on ships. Read on.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
So it says that once we get into this place, right, we get off them ships, we're going to be sold unto our enemies. For what?
For bondmen and bondwomen.
Slave men and slave women.
And no man shall buy you.
And no man shall redeem you, right? That word in Hebrew, quanah, means to redeem, right? Has anyone redeemed us or brought us back to Africa? No, right? But we got put on slave ships and we got put on auction blocks. And it said that we will be sold unto our enemies. Who were we sold to? The white people, the Edomites. Again, we read to you in Psalms 83 that the people that hate God and that are against God's people are primarily the Edomites and the Ishmaelites. The two people, right, the two nations that descended from sons that were rejected by God, right? You have Ishmael. Ishmael was rejected by God, right? Him and his mama were cast out into the desert, given a loaf of bread and a bottle of water in favor of Isaac. And then Isaac had children, Jacob and Esau. Esau's the elder. He thought that he should receive the blessing, but the blessing was for our father Jacob, who's the younger, right? So now you have two jealous brothers. You have two jealous brothers, the Ishmaelites and the Edomites. The Bible says that a man shall be known in his children, right? You ever heard of that? You're the spitting image of your father or your mother, right? Because you shall be known in your children. Well, guess what? Ishmael and Esau are two abandoned, disgruntled sons who hate the favored sons. right? And we are the children of the favored sons. And that's why they hate us. That's why the Bible says that they are confederate against us to cut us off from being a nation. So isn't it just a coincidence that the two religions that were introduced to our people by these same sons are the things that divide us from being together? Christianity and Islam, right? Read verse 63 of Deuteronomy 28. Let me show you this.
64.
63.
It's the book of Deuteronomy 28, verse 63. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you.
So God destroyed us because we didn't listen to God. Read on.
And to bring you to naught. And ye shall be plucked from off the land.
We were taken out of the land of Israel, right, and scattered all over the world, right? Read on.
Whither thou goest to possess it.
Come on.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
We've been scattered amongst all people, right? There's a group of our people, right, that live on something called the Seychelles Islands off the coast of East Africa. They were taken by the French from Haiti and brought to the Seychelles Islands. You look at the Seychelles Islands and you'll see people that look just like us, right? Because we've been scattered all over the place, right? Read on.
From all people, from one end of the earth.
From one end of the earth.
Even unto the other.
Unto the other, right? Read on.
And there thou shalt serve other gods.
You shall serve other gods, right? Read on.
Which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
And that's the thing, sister. Our people who are following Christianity and following Islam, they're serving other gods. They're not serving the God of the Bible, right? The Bible don't teach you that Jesus Christ is the Most High God, right? The Bible don't teach you to worship Jesus Christ, but Christianity does, right? Islam teaches you to worship Allah, right? But the Bible tells us to worship the Most High God, right? The term Most High God in Hebrew is Allah, LionOfYahawah, right? LionOfYahawah means exalted. So he's the most exalted God. Now the Bible also says that the rulers of our people are gods, are rulers, right? So we're supposed to worship the Most High God, whose name is Yahawah, right? And not serve the gods of what?
Nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Wood and stone. Now, what is the symbol of Christianity? What is one of the symbols of Christianity?
The cross. The
cross, right? And the cross is made out of what? Wood, right? It said that we would serve gods of wood and stone. What is one of the symbols of Islam? What is one of the pillars of Islam? You have to take your Shahada. What else?
Your Ramadan, like fasting and stuff.
And Hajj.
Yeah.
Where's the Hajj to?
You go to Mecca.
To do what?
Like you
circle around the what? What's
Kaaba?
The Kaaba what?
You almost close.
It's called the
around the Kaaba, but you like.
It's called the Kaaba what? The Kaaba stone. It said that we will worship gods of wood and stone. So our people, by and large, especially in Philadelphia, are serving the God of wood, Christianity, right? And their triune God, right? Their metamorphic, multi-Power Ranger God, right? Their Megatron God, right? There's three people that somehow equal to one. That makes no sense. Or they're following the God of Islam, the God of stone, the Kaaba stone. Now here's the thing, sister, the Kaaba stone, Islam teaches the world that the Kaaba was created by Ishmael and Abraham, which is false. It's just a claim. There's no archaeological evidence. There's no historical evidence. Mecca is taught to be like this major crossroad, this place of trade, but there's literally no attestations to Mecca being a place of significance prior to the 7th century AD. And know what happened in the 7th century AD? The rise of Islam. So and outside of the Quran, there's no mention, right? There's no Arab mention of Ishmael. They hear about that from our book, right? So again, when we look at what's happening to our people, it said that we will be sold into slavery, put into bondage on ships. It said that wherever we go, we'll be worshiping gods that our forefathers didn't worship, gods of wood and stone. And it just so happens that the two primary religions that our people follow is Christianity, represented by that wooden cross, and Islam, represented by that Kaaba stone. We're worshiping gods of wood and stone. Now the Kaaba stone, right, was actually a house of idols. The Arabs had an idol for every day of the year, and they will worship them at the Kaaba stone. Even when we look at the Hajj, right? The Hajj, everything that happens within that ritual is a pagan ritual. But Islam prides itself on being monotheistic and not being pagan. But again, one of the major tenets of Islam is pagan. It's going to the Mecca, circling around a rock, bowing before it, kissing it. That's idolatry, right? Same thing with Christians. Christians are taught idolatry, right? We have to leave idols and come back to our God whose name is Yahawah, right? And we only read about him in the Bible because this is our records. This is our history, right? This contains the legal text of our people. It contains our history, right? And it contains prophecy concerning our people and our place in the world, right? You got a precept, bring it out.
It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 5, verse 15. Drink waters out of thine own cistern.
Drink waters out of thy own cistern. A cistern is like a well, right? Drink waters out of thy own well or your own cistern, right? Read on.
And running waters out of thine own well.
Read on.
Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad in rivers of water in the streets.
Come on.
Let them be only thine own.
Let them be only thine own. We have our own way. We have our own heritage, our own culture, right? Why would we follow the culture of a people that God says that we're above?
That's right.
You're better than the Arab woman.
That's right.
You're better than the Chinese woman, the Chinese man. You're better than the white woman. You're better than the East Indian woman, the East African woman, right? The Bible says that we are above all nations, that God sees us as such, right? It calls you a precious daughter of Zion, right? So what we come to teach our people is that we have to stop following the ways of the people that God said is beneath us and come back to our proper place as the princes and princesses of God. You're royalty, sister, right? The name Israel, our forefather Jacob, he was wrestling an angel and he prevailed, right? The Hebrew word for prevail is sharar, right? And our name, right, is Yasharahla. His name was changed from Jacob to Yasharahla. It says because you have prevailed with God and with men. In order for us, the children of Israel, the children of Yasharahla, to prevail is by us following the ways of our God, right? And following our true culture and not following the ways of the other nations. You understand, sister? Right? So did the brother give you a flyer? Give you a card? Gotcha, right? So on that card, you can scan it. It'll take you to our different social media, right? Know that you are an Israelite, right? As so-called African American, you're more than likely from the tribe of Judah, right? That's a beautiful name, right? Your name, right, Judah, Yahawah in Hebrew means praise Yahawah, right? We're supposed to praise the Most High God whose name is Yahawah, not praise a generic God named Allah, a generic God named God, right? The same way if you got a pet dog, you wouldn't name your dog dog, right? You wouldn't name your cat cat, right? Your God has a name, right? Go to the last two verses of Psalm 83, right? To spring into action for the children of Israel because we're being oppressed by these other nations, right? And it goes on to list a whole bunch of other nations, right? Every nation gets off on exploiting us, right? So at the end, he's saying, please confound these people, right? Read that.
It's the book of Psalm chapter 83, verse 17. Let them be confounded and troubled forever.
Let the people that come against us, let them be ashamed and confounded forever. Read on.
Let them be put to shame.
Let them be put to shame and perish or die, right? Read on.
That men may know.
That men may know that what?
That thou, whose name alone.
Thou whose name alone is what?
Is Yahawah.
Is what?
Is Yahawah.
Is Yahawah. God's name is Yahawah, not Allah, right? God's name is Yahawah, not Jesus, right? Not anything other than Yahawah. That's his name alone. Now, in the Christian church, they're taught that God has many names. Even in Islam, they say, oh, God has like 99 names. No, our God's name alone, solely, is Yahawah. He's our God, and we got to show him reverence by following his commandments. Right? You got something? Bring it out.
God, it's the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 4, verse 12. Let no man despise thy youth.
It says, let no man, sister, despise your youth. It says, let no man despise your youth. You're a young sister, right? Let no one despise your youth. Read on.
But be thou an example of the believers in the word.
You have to be an example as a believer of the word, right? Now, who this was written to was a man named Timothy. He was young, right? A lot of times in our community, the OGs, like our older parents or the older generation, they say, oh, you don't know nothing, you young, right? But they say that wisdom... Go ahead, sister.
Why is it like New Testament every time? Like, why is it there? But like the Quran, we just have one simple.
You believe that there's one Quran?
I think so, because every Quran that I read or that I get is say the same thing.
I got you. That's actually incorrect. That's a talking point that Muslim scholars try to perpetrate in the world as if there's one Quran, right? There's not. You ever heard of Qira'at? What is a Qira'at?
I don't know what it is, but I heard of it.
It's a recitation, right? Now, what recitation of the Quran do you read? Are you Sunni Muslim?
Yes.
So you more than likely follow the Hafs, right? Well, guess what? There's something called the Warsh. And there's something called you have the Hafs, you have the Warsh, you have the Kumbul, right? You have, actually I have a whole, I'm actually literally doing a lesson tomorrow night, right, about these various Quranic translations, right? Well, not translations, recitations. Now, there are various translations of the Bible, but there's one Bible, right? The Bible is a collection of 80 different works,
But like,
right?
why is it multiple translations of one book that is a religion?
There's multiple translations of the Quran. Do you speak Arabic fluently? Right? So when you read the Quran, you're reading a translation, right?
Yeah.
So there's various different translations. You have the Yusuf Ali. You have the Mustafa, I think, what's this nigga's name? You got the Yusuf Ali, right? You have various. You have the Yusuf Ali. You got the, what else we got? You have the Abdul Halim, right? You have all these different translations of the Quran, right? But here's the thing. You have this thing called Qira'at, right? And there's 10 recognized Qira'at of the Quran, right? Guess what? In various different verses, right, you have different words. You even have words missing from these various different Qurans, right? So the Quran tells you that Allah will preserve the Quran, but the Quran has not been preserved, right? Do you know after Muhammad died, right, you had this guy named Uthman, right? You ever heard of Uthman? So Uthman was the third caliph of the Rashidun Caliphate. You had Abu Bakr, you had Abu Bakr, I forgot the second one, and then you have Uthman, right? Uthman, right, what happened was during that time, a lot of the Hafezes, right? Hafez is someone who memorizes the Quran. They were dying, right? So they called for the Quran to be written down, right? And what happened over the time, there was various different Qurans and different recitations. So what Uthman did was they standardized the Quran, right? And they burnt all the other Qurans that have variants, right? There's something called the Sana'a manuscript, right? Sana'a is a city in Yemen, right? Now, the Sana'a manuscript, right? They erased part of this Quran, and then you see the rewriting of the standard Uthmanic text, right? But there's variations between what was before and what was standardized. Not only that, even after the standardization of the Quran, right, you still have 10 different Qira'at that have variants from the same verse in a different Quran. So, for instance, the Warsh is used mostly in North Africa. If you were in North Africa, they would follow the Warsh, right? The Warsh Quran is different from the Hafs Quran. It's different from the Kumbul. It's different from the Al-Bazi, right? You have all these different Qurans, right? So, you ask me, why there's so many Bibles? Why there's so many Qurans? The reason why is because the Quran has not been perfectly preserved from its inception. First and foremost, Muhammad was illiterate, couldn't read or write. Right? It was just recited. Now, you ever heard of the telephone game? What happens with the telephone game?
It gets to one person and the words just
They get messed up, right? And that's why there's hundreds of variants between these different Quranic texts, right? There's no one Quran. You have 10 that are accepted, right? In the city of Cairo, right, you have something called the Cairo edition, right? In like the early 1900s, this university, they realized that you had they were trying to standardize testing. And what they realized is that they couldn't, because depending on what Quran you was reading, the Quran says different things. And some of it are simple, like pronoun or verb switches, right? But many of them actually change the meaning of the actual verse, right? Completely change the verse. So I want to show you something real quick, right? If you pull up a Quran, right, that is a Warsh, right? Check this out, sister. And what's your name, sister? Summer. That's a beautiful name, right? So Quran, all right, check this out, sister. Right? So you have 10 canonical Qira'at. You have the Nafi al-Madani, which was narrated by Warsh and Kalun. You have the Ibn Kathir. that were narrated by Al-Bazi and Kumbul. You had the Abu Amir al-Basri, narrated by Al-Dudi and Al-Susi. You had the Ibn Amar, right? You had the Asim Kufi, also known as the Hafs. You had the Hamza, right? You had the Al-Kisai, the Abu Jafar. You had the Yaqub al-Hadrami, and you had the Khalaf al-Ashir. That's 10 different Qurans, and they vary, right? Now, you have I'll tell you, in Surah 2 and 10, right? Pull up Surah 2 and 10. Now, if I say, now, Sister Summer, if I said that you lie, if I say that you lie, is that the same as me saying that you were lied to? If I said that you lie, is that the same as me saying that you were lied to? No, right? So read Surah 2 and 10.
Surah 2 and 10. There is sickness in their hearts, and Allah only let their sickness increase. They will suffer a painful punishment for their lives.
Are you Surah 2 and 10? No, you're not at 2 and 10. Read that.
Yeah. There's only sickness in their hearts, and Allah only lets their sickness increase. They will suffer a painful punishment for their lives.
For their lives, right? So the Ha says Yakazibuna, right? You pay attention to this? The Ha says Yakazibuna, but the war says Yukadzibuna, right? Yakazibuna means they lie. Yukadzibuna means they deny or were lied to. That changes the complete meaning of that verse. But guess what? Because the Quran, which means to recite, was recited for so long, and then it was written down, and then it was standardized, there's the talking point that the average Muslim that I have a conversation with, that the average Muslim that's taught, that's not a scholar, that's not in academia, they have to come to grips with the fact that their Quran has not been preserved. You ever heard of this guy named Yasir Qadi? So there's a guy named Yasir Qadi, he's Pakistani, right? And he is a Muslim scholar, right? I think he's studied at like Harvard, Yale, a bunch of like Ivy League institutions. And he's even been on record of admitting, yes, there are various recitations, right?
Every single student of knowledge knows, who studies Ulum al-Quran, that the most difficult topics are ahruf and qira'at. And the concept of ahruf and the reality of ahruf and the relationship of the Uthmanic Mus'haf with the ahruf and the preservation of the ahruf. Is it 1? Is it 3? Is it 7? And the relationship of the qira'at to the ahruf. This is a topic that when you're the beginning student of knowledge, you're like, what is all of this going on here? When you go a little bit more, you learn to simply memorize what your teachers say and regurgitate it out. And you don't fully comprehend. When you do a deep dive is when things get very, very awkward and difficult. And this isn't new. This is from the time of the Sahaba. This is not a joke, brothers and sisters. The issue of ahruf and qira'at caused confusion to somebody whom the Prophet ﷺ said, if you want to listen to the Quran directly, listen to Ubay. Ubay is not some even average Sahabi. He is the Qari of the Quran. He is the master. He is who he is. And he goes, فَدَخَلْ فِي نَفْسِي شَكْ. Like, what is all of this stuff? Again, this is you have asked me some very honest questions. It's the first time I'm saying these things. Many people are aware who listen to my lectures that I've mentioned the crises that happened to me at Yale. This was the issue. That the issue of ahruf and preservation and qira'at and relationships between them, these are very, very difficult issues. And the most advanced of our scholars, they're not quite fully certain how to solve all of the unanswered questions in there. Here's the point. These issues should only be discussed amongst people who know what the qira'at are and who understand some of these questions that are being raised.
So is what you're saying the shak that came, or not the shak, but the crisis that you had was in relation to this question of the relationship between the ahruf and the qira'at, basically?
No. The crisis I had wasn't that. The crisis I had was, well, yeah, wait, that was what generated. But what was the crisis? The crisis was very simple. Traditional understandings of ahruf and qira'at cannot answer some of these pressing questions that are now being poked by our people outside of, by their academics outside of the faith tradition. You see, in a Muslim environment, there's always some respect that we have for the Quran. We should. In a Muslim environment, we'll press a little bit, and then we'll say, okay, khalas, sami'na wa ata'na. And that's great, alhamdulillah. When you go to academia, they don't have that red line. And they're going to just, the famous story of the emperor with no clothes. They're going to just point out, no, that doesn't make any sense. Well, that's not true, and this and that. And they'll bring issues, which I'm not going to mention explicitly, that are true because they're in your own books. They're not inventing anything new. They'll bring you riwayat, and they'll bring you athar, and then you add to that very well-known issues of, I don't even want to be explicit. And then you bring on top of that makhtutat, and then. And it's very clear to you and to every single very advanced student and specialist that the standard narrative has holes in it. That's what I'm going to say. The standard narrative does not answer some very pressing questions. These are now well known within the Western Academy, that they're bringing forth issues. Their level of now knowledge is leaps and bounds above what it used to be, 100 years ago. What is happening in the last few years is not me anymore. It's the Western academics. These problems are now becoming mainstream. And by and large, our ulama in the Eastern world are not aware, by and large, of what's going on in the Western side of things. And they're not answering those questions in a manner that it needs to be answered.
Right? But they're still going to tell and lie to the average Muslim that their Quran is untampered with, their Quran has been the same, right? And they want to use this talking point, that the Bible's been corrupted. The Quran actually says, right, that the rabbis, right, have the book, right? And the rabbis at the time are people who literally had these manuscripts passed down to them, right? And it goes on to say that if you are ever in doubt, seek those that had the book before you in the Quran. Well, if Muslims today want to say that, the Bible has been tampered with and the Bible has changed all these different times, right? Well, why does the Quran say that the rabbis had the book? And how is the book that the rabbis had different from the one that we have? It's not different, right? We have various translations because the average person doesn't speak Hebrew, right? The same way you don't speak Arabic, right? Now, here's the good thing is that we could actually study the manuscripts in which the Bible was translated from. You have Hebrew ones, you have Aramaic ones, you have Latin ones, you have Greek ones. And guess what? They all are earlier than any Quranic manuscript that we have. Any, right? There are literally no manuscripts of the Quran that date back to Uthman's time. None. There's none that date back to Muhammad's time. None, right? But we have manuscripts of the Bible, right, of the so-called New Testament that date to the 1st century AD, which is during the time in which Christ lived, right? Even like a lot of the readings, a lot of the sayings about Muhammad were written well after he was born, right? We have them within like 40 years of Christ's ministry, right? So you asked about the New Testament, right? Here's the issue. A lot of people don't understand the Bible because the Bible has been taught from the lens of white supremacists. Let me get Psalms 147 verse 19, right? The Bible says that God only showed his word unto Jacob, to the Israelites, as we're going to read, right? The Bible has been presented to us from a Catholic, so-called Christianity lens through white people who are not the children of Israel, right? Read that.
Khan, it's the book of Psalm, chapter 147, verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob.
Unto Jacob, read on.
His statutes and his judgments unto Israel.
Unto Israel. You're an Israelite, we're all Israelites, right? God only showed his word unto us. Read on.
He hath not dealt so.
He hath not dealt so.
With any nation.
With any nation.
And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord.
So the white man was never showed God's word, right? So what happens is, like for instance, in hip hop, right? You have people like DJ Vlad, Harry Rosenberg, right? They're white Jewish people who love the culture that we created, and they have made themselves authorities within our culture that we've created. Not so with the Bible, right? They've done the same thing, and they present themselves as being the vanguards or the stewards of God's word, but God never showed his word unto them. So when they present the Bible to us, right, from their misconceptions, from their lens that was not shown to them, this is why we have all these contradictions. Like, I'll give you an example. Jewish people who are not the Jews, we're the real Jews, they tell you that you can't eat a cheeseburger because the Bible says, thou shalt not see the kid in his mother's milk. What that means is you cannot eat a young calf when it's drinking its mother's milk. So like, for instance, veal. Veal is literally baby cows who've had their legs broken so they can't walk, right? So that their muscles stay very tender, right? According to the Bible, right, we can't eat that. That's unlawful, right? You cannot eat a baby cow or a baby goat or a baby sheep that's drink. Huh? No,
How would y'all know that it's not being tampered with?
What's not being tampered with?
The baby cow.
Well, when you go to the store, yeah, I got you, right?
But like, what kind of food do y'all have that's like that y'all know what to eat and what not to eat?
It's called kosher, right? Now, again, kosher just simply means fit. What's fit for us to eat? God tells us in Leviticus 11 chapter, right? It says anything that comes out of the waters that don't have fins and scales, you don't eat. It's like, for instance, in Islam, you guys don't eat pork, but you guys can eat shrimp, right?
Yeah, but I have another question about that too.
Uh-huh.
I know in the Bible it says y'all not supposed to eat pork either.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Why does
We don't eat pork.
Y'all might not eat pork.
But we're not Christians. We are Israelites, right? See, we are Christians in the true sense of being a Christian, right? The word Christian means to be a follower of Christ. Christ kept the commandments of God. Christians teach you that you don't have to keep the commandments of God. So how can they follow Christ and follow his footsteps and keeping the commandments of God when they teach you not to keep the commandments of God? We actually teach to keep God's commandments, and we keep God's commandments. So we're the true Christians. But when I say we're not Christians, that means that we're not followers of Christianity. Christianity and the Bible are two different things, right? Bring it out.
Book of Ezekiel chapter 4 verse 13. And Yahweh said, even thus the children of Israel eat their defiled bread.
Eat their defiled food among the Gentiles. So the Bible said that we would be scattered all over the world, and that we would eat defiled or forbidden food amongst the nations. This is why people eat shrimp, crab, lobster, pork, chitlin, all types of BS, right? But we're not supposed to, right? And that's why we're destroyed. That's why we have high blood pressure, diabetes, gout, all types of diseases. Huh? Yeah, these are things you can't eat, right? So you can't eat pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, right? You can't eat like predators, right? I was watching a video, right? This guy, they were eating snake, they don't eat coyote, they ate all types of BS, right? We're not supposed to eat that, right? People eat alligator, right? We can eat cows, we can eat lambs, we can eat, listen, you can eat a giraffe, according to the Bible, right? We can eat what are known as ruminants. A ruminant is an animal that's an herbivore. It only eats plants, and it regurgitates its food. It has like a multi-chambered stomach. So a cow, they're chewing all day, right? Just grass, right? Just plants, and then their stomach regurgitates it and it breaks it down even more. That's what we're allowed to eat, right? We're allowed to eat things that come out of the water that have fins and scales. So snapper, cod, whiting, salmon, trout, things of that nature. These are things that we can eat, right? But catfish, they have fins, they don't have scales. You can't eat that, right? Shark, you can't eat that. I was just at the fish store the other day, right? The fish store is owned by a Mexican sister, right? Mexicans are from the tribe of Issachar, right? We're from the tribe of Judah, so-called African Americans. And the sister was like, oh yeah, I just made some shark tacos. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm okay, right? I bought some salmon and I bought some branzino, which is a type of sea bass, right? You can eat bass, you can eat trout, things of that nature that have fins and scales. That's what we can eat, right? That comes out of the waters, right? So
we can't eat shrimp?
No, you cannot eat shrimp. You know what a shrimp is, sister? It's a roach.
What?
It's a sea roach.
Oh yeah, they
don't
do
look at it like
the
that.
ground.
They crawl at the bottom, and know what they eat?
They eat
the
dirt.
They eat the feces, right? A crab, right? You can literally be on a beach and you can take a poop in a hole in the sand, and guess what? Crabs will eat it. Crabs are simply sea spiders. A lobster is simply a sea scorpion. Would you eat a scorpion?
No.
Would you eat a roach?
Eat lobster.
Would you eat a roach?
No.
Would you eat shrimp? Because how you know? Have you ever ate a roach?
No.
So you see that? Here's the thing. Shrimp without any seasoning, without butter and garlic and all, it don't taste like nothing. It's all rubbery.
Yes, it do.
It tastes like?
Shrimp cocktail, they don't have seasoning or nothing on there. All you doing is dipping it in there.
Yeah, that dip is seasoning.
But without the seasoning, it's
Yeah. It's still a roach, sister. It's a sea roach, right? They're the same thing, right? So you can eat chicken. So you can eat chicken, right? You can eat turkey. You can eat. Listen, we went to a restaurant in Baltimore, right? And we got. You from Baltimore? All right, that's what's up, right? We went to this YAHAWAH. YAHAWAH is a West African tribe, and I had something called guinea fowl. Never had it before, but it's a type of bird that's similar to a chicken that I was able to eat, right? You can eat hen. You can eat quail. You can even eat pigeons. You can. You can. I wouldn't eat the pigeons in America. You know what I mean? Chicken. You can eat sushi, right? But it depends on the type of sushi, right? You can't eat, let's say, shrimp tempura, right? You can't eat crab or a California roll, but you can eat most sushi, right? Before I came into this knowledge, I used to eat eel avocado rolls. Eel, I used to love eel, but eel, they have fins, but they don't have scales. You can't eat that.
So nobody out here eats seafood, boy?
Nope. We used to. We all keep the laws of God, sis. We used to.
We found out what we not supposed to eat.
Yeah. I don't listen.
I used to love shrimp.
Listen, I don't eat alligator. I don't eat octopus. I don't eat squid. I don't eat clams, mussels, oysters. I don't eat all that bullshit, right? But when I came into the knowledge of self that I'm an Israelite and that my God required me to follow His commandments, I said, you know what? I can't go against God, right? No mussels, no oysters, no clams, nothing. No, you know what an oyster is? It's a rock with snot inside of it.
What's snot?
Snot? You know you got boogies and you sick and you got when you blow your nose?
Y'all make it so nasty.
Because it is nasty.
That's why you said don't eat
it. It is nasty. There's a delicacy, right?
I thought they close up the bugs and it turned into like a solid.
Oysters create pearls. But yeah, you can harvest pearls and use them for jewelry, but you can't eat the oysters, right? So in fine dining in the culinary world, you have this thing known as uni, right? No. They're sea spiders. No crab, no lobster, none of that, right? So in culinary, in the fine dining world, you have this thing called uni. Uni is just a Japanese word for sea urchin. A sea urchin is a big spiky ball in the ocean, right? And when you crack it open, they take this little orange thing outside of it, and it's the reproductive organs of the sea urchin. So people who eat that, they're eating essentially the balls of a sea urchin, right? That's all it is. You wouldn't eat. Listen, I know white people, they'll eat cow balls.
Yeah, I see.
You wouldn't eat it, right? In Asia, they eat cow vagina.
Drug test.
Yeah.
It came from
Yeah. So again, that's just disgusting, right? When you really break down what it is and know what you're eating, you realize, oh, this is not food. Like you ever went fishing?
No, I want to.
Right? So I've been getting into fishing, right? If you ever caught a live shrimp, you're like, oh, this is weird. This is not real food, right? Same thing with a lobster. Same thing with a crab. It's not food. You gotta do all this work. No, it's not all you do. Listen. When you clean shrimp, you gotta take out the doodle vein.
Yeah, it's in the back of the thing.
Yeah, cause all it eats is doodle. You ever heard the phrase "you are what you eat"?
Yeah.
So if you eat doodle, you are doodle. And that's why our health is shitty, because we eat shit. We eat the things that God says don't eat.